A Volvo SUV comparison for you with Thomas and Autogefuehl. Volvo XC40 versus the bigger Volvo XC60. This will be very interesting. Let's directly start here in the front with the XC40, the smaller brother, with a very upright, strong design, three-dimensional curved in design here in the very front grille, and Thor's Hammer LED signature. Really beautiful, and thunder gray is that color, whereas we have denim blue with the bigger XC60. Although it's the bigger car, the front looks a little bit less upright, but still a strong look. And here also with the vertical fins, depending on the trim, it also differs a little bit. So you can see that they both belong to the Volvo family, but I think the XC40, the design is maybe a little bit fresher. Or what do you think? Tell me in the comments. Side profile and technology comparison. Let's start here with the length of the XC40, which is 4 meters 43 or 174 inches. And you more have a crossover look right here and a three-dimensional look, especially in the lower area, and very distinctive this top side profile here. Now the XC60 is 26 centimeters or 10 inches longer than the XC40. Technology difference is that we also optionally have an air suspension here, and you can see wheel arch wise, for example, and also from the whole side silhouette, it looks a little bit less crossover-ish and a little more elaborate, I would say. The question is if this length difference also translates into more room on the inside or more trunk. We'll find out very soon. And also about the prices. Obviously the XC60 is more expensive. How much, and how much is the price exactly for these top trim test vehicles? Later on this will be super interesting. Well, in the front I preferred the XC40 design. In the side profile I preferred the XC60 design. Here in the rear now they have some similarities, you know, like the basic form right here and also the vertical lamps, but then it changes it right here. Also different as for the turning indicators. This looks a little bit more modern than in this case. Yeah, I would still go for the XC60 as for the visual design part, also in the rear, I would say. And even more interesting, of course, how the turning indicators look like in the front. That's the same here for both. Looks quite amazing, doesn't it? Engine choices? What the hell? Have you seen this? I mean, I've never seen a hood that opens that wide. I mean, an elephant could service this one here by that wide opening. It looks strange, doesn't it? Anyways, engine choices: petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid petrol, and all EV, all electric, already for the XC40. That is not available yet for the XC60. Will come at a later stage than with the all-new generation. And also the XC40 here has a 1.5 liter petrol 3-cylinder, and the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder is also the base for the plug-in hybrid. Whereas then of course the rest of the engines are the 2 liter 4-cylinders, and then you know, here the XC60 only has the 2 liter 4-cylinders, petrol, diesel, and also for the base plug-in hybrid. People always say the cars look tiny when I'm standing next to them, but I guess I can't be too tall for this one, right? Let's get to the interior of the XC40. Normal Volvo key, door closing sound. Yeah, pretty solid. Really nice. And also here from the interior materials, the structure inside, and also soft touch, and they make it from one piece here. That's actually very nicely done. Also the felt interior of the inside door pockets is really nice, and also more sustainable material choices and so on. The interior, typical Scandinavian design. Here in this case with the fabric seats, that does have some wool share. If you want to go completely animal free, there's also black fabric seat available, depending on the version, also leatherette seat or also microfiber leatherette mix. The XC40 EV, the all-electric version, is completely animal free by default. Here in the lower part you can also put that back and it looks even nicer. Here is then a little bit longer. The big question will be, I mean, the XC40, considering it's a compact SUV, already feels quite grown up. And if you compare the XC40 to the brand external competitors, like a Mercedes GLA for example, this one feels more SUV, whereas some of the other competitors more feel crossover. That's the thing I really like about the XC40. Headroom, here this one does have the panoramic roof, and then it leaves some headroom with 189 or 6'2". The panoramic roof, let me turn on the ignition right here. Panoramic roof here, you can see you can put this slider here back, so when it's really hot, really important to have that. But you see there is this split, so it's also a panoramic roof which you can actually still open. That's of course a cool thing to have. So the big question will be when we soon will switch over to the XC60, does it deliver more seating comfort than the XC40 that it would be worth stepping up the segment? I think the ergonomics are really good. Volvo seats in general have also good seat ergonomics for tall people. That's what I like, but really looking forward if there will be a crucial difference very soon. Interior overview, also simple. Here recently with the facelift you see these structured design patterns right here. Also 9-inch screen. Don't be mistaken, this will also soon get the Android Automotive system. This is one of the last engine versions here that hasn't gotten it yet. So soon all XC40 will also get the Android Auto system. So we won't waste time on this and check it out in the XC60. Here clearly one central knob still. This will be the same for the volume, everything else done via touch. In the lower part you can see USB-A connector, but also inductive charging pad underneath. And in this case we have this crystalline shifting lever and goes back like this or forward for reverse. The cup holes are adaptive, and then we also have decent build quality here for the armrest. Underneath even more space. What I love about the XC40 is here the matte styling of the buttons at the steering wheel. The XC60 will soon get the high gloss buttons here. You will soon see that in our video, so I do prefer the solution right here. Instruments, these are the so far or older ones if you buy used, for example. If you buy a new XC40 for most versions and soon also for this version here, you will then get the Android Automotive instruments we will soon see in the XC60. Really nice interior materials also here at the rear door, soft touch as well, and again with the felt accentuation. And you sit very well here in the rear as well. So it's the smallest SUV, the XC40 here, and still there's some legroom left here. No problem for 4 tall adults. 5. There's a substantial middle tunnel. However, when you have squeezed yourself in here, it does work. So also decently comfortable. Of course, the outside seats are more comfortable, but overall very well usable. Here, folded down like this, adaptive cup holders. So overall, as for the offering of space here, already very nicely done. This wool material, by the way, I think it doesn't feel that good because it feels a little bit rough from the surface. I would indeed tend to pick the base fabric seats, or then in the R design, the microfiber mix. Yeah, maybe depending on the version you have on the market, or the full leatherette. So, but I do prefer the normal fabric seats. To me, they are most breathable, and also from the surface they feel best actually. The microfiber seats, however, will probably look the best. Key fob, the same, and also door closing sound. It's really good, flawless, and also comparable interior materials here from the top. But then there is, let's say, less design focus here a little bit. This looks more clean in the XC40, and also the XC40 has the felt on the inside, where here is the black plain plastic. Steering wheel is comparable, and also the seats. As for the material, in the US, by the way, and also in Germany, you can get a black fabric or also a bright city weave material that is also animal free with a special styling. These ones here, again, the fabric with a little bit wool share. The UK does lack animal free options, sadly, for the XC60. And you can see the seat is a little bit more, let's say, has a little bit more form to it. But also, does it really, does it translate into more comfort? That's the big question. The XC40 already feels grown up as for an SUV, and indeed, what you feel here in the front in the XC60 is doesn't feel big of a difference. When you compare BMW X1 to X3, or Mercedes GLA to GLC, Audi Q3 to Q5, you feel more of a difference than here Volvo XC40 to Volvo XC60. That rather speaks for the XC40 because it's a cheaper vehicle, cheap in relative terms. Here you feel you have a little bit more space to the front with the hood and so on, little bit more headroom, but it's when whatever that was, but it wouldn't really justify the extra price. So the seats here, they are to me a little bit firmer even though they offer a little bit more bolstering. But I wouldn't say that the XC60 is more comfortable. It's also comfortable, but sitting here in the front, maybe I would even go for the XC40. Here, by the way, the panoramic roof. There's also then one with the shade. Basically works the very same way. Here now also with this capacitive touch. And then you can also open that whole thing. So indeed, from the front already, both the smaller and the bigger one are quite comparable. Interior overview, you have these accentuations here with the matte wood. That's actually lovely done, but the base layout with 9-inch screen is more or less the same. Then we do have this Android Automotive screen here now for almost all the Volvo models. And big news, recent upgrade, now Apple CarPlay also for the Android Automotive systems in Volvo and Polestar, being rolled out by over-the-air updates. Is an integration and all over the screen. That's actually cool. And in this case, then I can use the Google Maps from the Apple CarPlay, but also the Google Maps, which is inbuilt by this Android Automotive system. They do not offer Android Auto, by the way. This is just the Android Auto is the smartphone mirroring. Android Automotive is the whole system, because I say, hey, you get the Google Maps integration anyway. Your phone you can connect it via Bluetooth, and that's basically it. Not sure, you could also offer that, you know, Renault does also offer that with Android Automotive, both CarPlay and Android Auto, who is getting used to it. So this whole system here is really fast. Also the Google Maps integration is nice, and it doesn't offer so much complexity, but it gives you everything you need, and it's fast and reliable, and that's really great thing to have. Middle console also with these nice covers, and this one slide open for the cup holders. In the front, there's just this tiny cubby hole, 12-volt power supply, and then you can fold up this armrest, and then there's here the USB-C chargers. Then steering wheel with real buttons here as well. And then if you move to the instruments, they have this Android Automotive view, which will count for all the Volvos. Here you can see with the map integration or without. Pretty simple, does the job. And here for the XC60, you can also get a head-up display. XC60 here in the rear, that is really interesting. First of all, at the inside of the doors, also nice materials. But once again, the look in the XC40 is a little bit more uncluttered. Here, a lot of different elements. Bowers & Wilkins is the top sound system here, by the way. But to me, sound-wise, it's not better than the Harman Kardon in the XC40. Maybe from the sound experience, I even like the Harman Kardon more. Here, as for the headroom, also some left, but legroom here, yeah, that's basically the same result we have in the XC40. So it's not that you would have more space here in the XC60. Will that difference be in the trunk? We'll soon find out. And then here in the middle part, yeah, I mean, you can also sit here, but the same, once again here, a little bit stiffer in the back part. And then we fold down this. We have here these cup holders that are a little bit more forward actually. But overall, yeah, both in the front and also here in the rear, the space and comfort are really comparable, both XC40 and XC60. And now the trunks or the boots, fight it out. Let's begin with the smaller one, the XC40. The liter difference is around 50 liters, but what is it in length and width? Here, the length about 90 centimeters or 35 inches, and the width a little bit less than a meter or 40 inches. So let's remember that, but overall well usable. This here in case of the plug-in hybrid, a cable box, and then of course the height of the trunk is a little bit limited with the plug-in hybrid. You have to fold the seats from the rear area. When we move over to the XC60, so liter capacity is a little bit more. The height is more or less the same. Here also a little bit reduced because of the plug-in hybrid version. But here, now the big difference is the length. Here you can see it's about, yeah, it's a little bit less than a meter or 40 inches. So you gain about this here, you know, in length, and also in the width. You can see it's more than a meter or 40 inches. So yeah, about this you gain. So yeah, almost 10 centimeters or 4 inches. So once again, this more in width and, you know, like this more in length. So indeed, from the basic things here, the big advantage of the XC60 is indeed you have more trunk capacity and more width and more length. Is it really worth it? Is it that big of a difference? I wouldn't say it's not so significant if you think about everyday practicability, but it does change something if you're a family and you're driving, on holiday or something. And one big difference we can already see right here, because here, if you have the optional air suspension, then you can also lower the vehicle here for better loading in and out. And air suspension, that is something only the XC60 is offering, and not the smaller brother. Welcome to Thomas's comparison driving lounge. Starting here with the Volvo XC40 with the smaller one. And it will be really interesting to find out all about the differences. Blind spot monitor here in the side mirror. That's a very good assistance system. And it feels really light and compact, just as the size is. Steering here is quite direct, but it doesn't give you the best feeling, meaning you don't have a natural feeling for the car. It feels a little bit artificial. Seating comfort is really good, and as I said earlier, in the interior part, it already feels somewhat grown up, so you don't miss a bigger SUV, at least when you're driving the smaller one here. Well, in the front here, there's not an XC60, it's a V60 actually. Sometimes hard to differentiate because they can also be put a little bit higher, especially when it's a cross-country version. Well, in normal city driving, it's already quite silent. We soon also head out to the German motorway, the Autobahn, and it overall gives you a very relaxed, calm, and just a good feeling here. So the roundabout package of the driving feeling is really very nice. You have a decent size on the interior, not too big, not too long on the exterior, and that's why it's also relatively easy to steer it around in the city. You get the most parking spots and so on. This can also be a big advantage if you compare it to the XC60, that you can just easier park it in and out, easier ease it in the parking lot. So that's what I really like about the XC40 right here. All right, now let's go to the motorway. Yeah, also a little bit faster. Good side handling, feels really nice. You have a lot of driving fun indeed in the XC40. The suspension is quite firm, I have to say, but not too bad. So bumps are also even out quite well. I think they found a nice setup here for the suspension. Remember, no air suspension is available here, but in this segment it's absolutely fine if they don't offer that, and you also don't really need it. Although we have quite big wheels mounted here, the 19-inch wheels, it's not too uncomfortable from bumps in the road and so on. And here also higher speeds, more than 100 kilometers an hour or more than 60 miles an hour, reasonably insulated here, so you really get a premium SUV feeling. Here once again, a little bit sportier in that next right corner. It's always cool when we switch motorways from one to another, then you can really test the agility. Seats also keep you quite tight, especially if you have a fabric-based seat. In this case here we have the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, but drivetrain comparison won't play the biggest effect here in this comparison. It will just play a big role if you have the all-electric version, which is offered in the XC40 and in the C40. There's also a separate video on that actually, but both in the city, countryside and on the motorway, the XC40 feels very well balanced, and it can actually master every discipline, no problem. The big question is now, what about the XC60? Is it really better for the extra price you pay? Is it more or less fun to drive? Well, and now to the XC60. Told you in the interior part, the basic seating position is not too different. Maybe the seat is a little bit larger, but then again, the cushion is a little bit firmer, so I wouldn't really say that this delivers more comfort or so, and at first glance. We also had equal space set up in the rear and so on. Yeah, a little bit bigger trunk and so on. So it's really up to the driving part now. if there is a significant difference and if the extra price is really justified. Of course, you can also go with the XC60 with a normal suspension. Then the suspension setup won't be that different. Here, however, the optional air suspension. And that, of course, delivers more driving comfort. However, we do have 20-inch wheels mounted on here. And that also leads to that these fine changes in the road are more transported to your body and you feel them. Yeah, and the basic setup here, you know, when it goes from left, right, is then rather a little bit softer. That's the basic difference. And the XC60 is not for racing. Clearly not. None of the Volvos are. It's more for enjoying and driving a little bit calmer, not feeling the urge to accelerate it all out and so on. And the engines are also not laid out on that anyway. It's also good noise insulation. It feels really calm on the inside, and also, you know, because it's a little bit longer, it sits a little bit more settled on the road. So from the chassis and suspension wise, it feels a little bit more grown up and a little bit more sophisticated. It's also how it's supposed to be. Also the hood there is a little bit longer and so on. But the thing is really that my basic impression from sitting in the cockpit is basically confirmed, because it's not the biggest difference. So once again here, inside there's another, that was a C40 actually. So inside this Volvo model portfolio, the difference between XC40 and XC60, also driving wise, is not as large as you would expect it. I'll soon also hop onto the same motorway part and move it a little bit more, you know, in an agile way to see more comparison about that. But yeah, so I think seating position wise, maybe I think I'm even a little bit happier with the XC40. Just, you know, running straight and enjoying a more, you know, serenity rides, so to speak. That might be a little bit better than in the XC60. XC60? That could be a new Volvo SUV, right? So, Volvo guys, I just invent a new name for you for you know, when there's like an even smaller SUV, XC60. So I meant the XC. Thank you. So, yeah, the XC60 here. So it still feels good also in the city. Of course, you're a little bit more limited as for parking in and out if you directly compare it to the smaller XC40. Still agile enough, definitely. Yeah, here when you approach, for example, a traffic light and there's some like waves and you feel that the air suspension is evening it out a little bit more. So yeah, just feels a little bit more sophisticated, but as I said, the difference not too large. How is it now when I drive it, for example, you know, from a traffic light, from 0 around the corner, 90-degree bend here now, and also on the motorway. Here we go. Around the corner. Yeah, there the XC40 just feels a little bit lighter, you know, and also, you know, when I'm going some right, left here, legs a little bit behind. So the XC40 gives you a more direct connection when you have the steering input and so on. The basic steering setup feels kind of similar because it is direct for the steering input. Then again, doesn't feel that natural. You don't get the best feeling for the car. But what I meant is when you do a steering command and then how the suspension or the chassis, you know, changes right, left, and how you feel all together. With the XC40, you feel more one with the vehicle, and here you feel more, okay, the vehicle is driving for you, more or less. You know, that's how I would describe the difference. Now we get to the German Autobahn, see how it is in that faster corner. I have to slow down here just a little before that. Both plug-in hybrid drivetrains, by the way, today to make it comparable. Of course, you always have these electric driving moments and it's all silent. And when you push it a little bit further, then the combustion engine also sets in. If the plug-in hybrid makes sense, depends really on the driving profile and also on tax subsidies and so on. I'm not the biggest fan of plug-in hybrids. I rather tend to go, hey, still get the petrol engine pure or go all electric and decide depending on the charging infrastructure you have. Here now in the corner, still fun to drive. It pushes me and leans a little bit more outward than the XC40 definitely, but still feels good. And here now at a little higher speeds, so some motorway speeds, also decently silent. Is it more silent than the XC40? Probably the same, right, Michelle? Yeah, Michelle also agrees. So wouldn't say that there's much. Maybe if one is calmer, I think this one maybe. I'm not sure. So doesn't feel like the biggest difference, at least because the XC40 also has dual insulation glass and so on. So everything fine also in that respect. I feel that from the whole chassis and the length of the vehicle, I would rather go with this one for the motorway. But when I just rate the very seat I'm sitting on, I think I would even go with the XC40. So the best motorway setup to me would be actually you can also, electronically adjust everything and so on. Let's see. Yeah, doing that, there we go, is the lambda support, for example. Yeah, so I would take the XC40 seat, but with the XC60 chassis for the best motorway setup, but both are comfortable and also good motorway rides, no doubt about that. Yeah, that is really, really interesting. So both deliver you a very interesting and very good ride. The XC60 then maybe, to give you a little bit more calmness. The XC40 for a little bit more directness and driving fun. As I said, in the newer generations, newer versions, newer model years, and also already the XC40 EV and the pure petrol and so on, they all now get the Android Automotive system here right and also left in the instruments, depending on when exactly you are buying, and also maybe if you're buying used or so. So even in driving, not the biggest of a difference. That's very interesting. So it might be a very close call, or will it be? Let's check out our final conclusion. Well, what do we do now? Which one would I actually take home? And also considering the price difference. So if you start with a base version, it's more like 35, 44 or something in euros, 1,000 euros of course. So just like an 8,000 euros price difference. But then the higher you spec them and the higher go also in the engines and so on, the price difference is rising. And here with the higher trim levels and so on, and also as plug-in hybrid, we are at the concise prices of 64,000 euros and 88,000 euros. So spec'd, the price difference then triples. And yeah, when you then think about this massive price difference of 24,000 euros, then just as for the price performance, it's clearly the XC40. As for the exterior, well, in the front I like the XC40 better. The XC60 inside and the rear, but wouldn't be the biggest difference to me. Interior-wise, also quite similar from the styling. Surprising thing is that the XC40 doesn't have less space on the interior or something. It's just more that the trunk space is a little bit limited. The XC60 has a longer and wider trunk. That would be the main, let's say, hard fact difference. And that optionally you can also get an air suspension. Driving-wise, also the difference is not as large as you might expect. The XC60 may be a little bit more, a little bit more sophisticated in the driving, but I found the seating position, the ergonomics with the seats even a little bit better with the XC40. Well, and then when you consider the price difference and also that you get along a little bit better in the city, to me today, the clear winner is the Volvo XC40. It's also available as a pure electric version already now, also as the C40, as this coupe shape. We also have separate video on that. You should check out this one, or of course also more Volvo content we have for you.